Nuclear power has only existed as a transitional and temporary energy source, and that the technology will not and should not exist in the next century. That's Naoto Kan, Prime Minister of Japan, during the Fukushima tsunami, earthquake, disaster, nuclear power accident that is still going on today, with the leakage of 10 million becquerels per hour of cesium leaking out of the plants, especially units 1 through 3. And he's going to be in San Diego to meet with the former head of the NRC to discuss the lessons of Fukushima for Southern California as they're trying to decide whether to reopen or not reopen the San Onofre plant that is closed right now. We have 2 reactors there by San Diego. The next speaker was Hiroaki Koide. Hope I pronounced that right. And he is a Master of Science in Nuclear Engineering, assistant professor at the Kyoto University Research Institute. And he gave a chronological account of the disaster. I'll try to get through it quickly for you. Basically, he said that the units 1 through 3 were operating out of 6 at the time of the tsunami and earthquake. Then they all melted down. 100 tons of sintered uranium ceramic in the core fell onto the bottom of what he called a pressure cooker and soon broke through the pressure vessel, fell onto the floor of the nuclear reactor containment vessel, which seals off the radiation as the last protective wall on a nuclear reactor. And this continued to break, the containment vessel, at various spots, one after the other. And the lost protective walls, which seals in the radiation, and radiation began releasing this to the environment. At the same time, hydrogen was produced, and this produced explosions of several of the buildings. And as these materials were dissolving in the water, they were also going into the ground and into the ocean. And as of today, he said, 10 million people live in radiation-controlled areas and are exposed to continual radiation every day. At the bottom of Fuel Pool 4, the building exploded, but the fuel pool, which is 100 feet above the ground, it's still in a dangerous situation, and he says there's about 10,000 Hiroshima bombs of fuel at the bottom there. And they are exposed to the environment every day, and there are aftershocks almost daily in the vicinity of the Daiichi plant. That's the name of the plant at Fukushima, where the 6 reactors are. And if there's an earthquake, he said they won't be able to do anything about it. And TEPCO is aware they're trying to remove all the material at the bottom. They hope to start removing it at the end of 2013. And he expects a lot of workers to be exposed to the radiation while this is attempted. He says, I have to live in a contaminated world. Hiroaki Koide. Okay, then we had Arnie Gundersen, and he has worked in the nuclear industry for a long time, and he gave us an account of what they knew when they knew it. He wanted to tell us first that a tsunami, TSU means harbor, Nami means waves, so tsunami. And a tsunami travels up to 539 miles per hour, that's greater than the speed of sound, and at heights up to 165 feet, and they have very long wavelengths of up to 124 miles, and the periods between a tsunami wave when one is generated or some are generated can be between 10 and 60 minutes. Arnie wanted to thank the workers who saved the world, he said. They're his personal heroes, and he has profound respect for them. And about hundreds of people were responsible to prevent the calamity from being much worse at Fukushima. We have 22 similar reactors in the United States, by the way, and here we have more spent fuel in their fuel pools compared to what they have now, or what they had then at Daiichi. Now, he gave us a quick history of the Mark I, going back into the 50s and 60s in the United States. It was designed in the United States, and the one that was erected at Daiichi, the first one, had no Japanese input. And what happened was General Electric got the contract to build nuclear reactors on a turnkey contract, so it took $60 million. They had to build at least 12, and then this one. And they lost their shirt. I already said he knows because he worked on them. He worked at the one in Millstone in Connecticut. And there were a lot of economic pressures on General Electric to keep the costs down because they were losing money dramatically. Going back into Arnie's history of the Mark I, General Electric's motto was, "Progress is our most important product." Their CEO said in 1961, "We're going to ram this nuclear thing through." The Atomic Energy Commission had an advisory committee on nuclear safeguards. But in 1966, because of the economics of their turnkey contract, they threatened that they'd have to go out of business if the Safeguards Committee enforced the safeguards. And the chairman of the committee, Glenn Seaborg, admitted, "I don't think we had the power to stop them." So the U.S. government didn't have the power to stop General Electric's faulty design in 1966. So in 1972, when they were starting up Daiichi, their senior safety officer, Joseph Hendry, Hendrie, said that the acceptance of pressure suppression containment concepts by all elements of the nuclear field is firmly embedded in the conventional wisdom. Reversal of this hollow policy, particularly at this time, could well be the end of nuclear power. It would throw into question the continued operation of licensed plants and would generally create more turmoil than I can stand thinking about. Joseph Hendry, AEC Chief Safety Officer. So he felt they should be eliminated. But the turmoil that the AEC and American